welcome to Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've got some thoughts on. I've been playing it recently. This is Top Gear Rally, 1997 for the N64, as you could probably tell by the way it looks and sounds, and especially sounds because it's got some pretty severe issues on Project 64, but that's why we're going to be editing the music back in and severely turning down the sound effects in the mix. But other than that, what kind of game is this? Well, it's technically the continuation of the Top Gear series from, not to be confused with the incredible TV show that later went to shit. No. I mean, Top Gear like Top Gear on the Super Nintendo, Top Gear 2, Top Gear 3000, all very solid arcade racers, and this is basically that next step. And fuck me, I'm just gonna restart this race, honestly. We might be on this one track for quite some time. Also, the game defaults to the first-person camera, but unlike most games that do that, most console games that will default to first person, because basically them doing that is saying, please, for the love of God, do not use the third-person camera. The game will run like shit. This game doesn't run like shit when you do that. It actually runs fairly well, no matter what camera you use. So, you know, also for some reason the side of my car says LGR. This game came out over a decade before I don't know what's up with that. I'm gonna assume that's like some fictional brand in the game, because it doesn't really have licenses, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so this is an arcade rally racer, and it's very arcadey. The handling is interesting because it's loose and rewards aggression, but it's also not totally planted or turn your brain off, turn to the left, turn to the right. No, you actually have to think about the car's weight, and as you just saw earlier, it's very much possible for things to go wrong. In fact, I'd almost say that this is a little bit more demanding of an arcade, of a, I guess, rally experience than even something like Dirt games, really. Like, Dirt 1 and 2 are in free, and 4 on the arcade setting, and even 5. They're much easier to handle than this, but this isn't difficult to handle necessarily, it just has its quirks. Also, it doesn't have any real damage, unlike the sequel. Oh my, I've eaten the wall. Okay, and I've restarted. You know, something really interesting about this game, if you want to reverse, you have to literally dead ass, like, hold down on the analog stick and hit the accelerator. Yeah, this was an earlier one. It was really cool, though, seeing the evolution of these kind of games go from this all the way up to, like, Rally Challenge 2000. Like, holy shit, the graphics on that are actually pretty impressive. And one of the main things I want to talk about when playing this game is how cool it is to know that there was once a time when basically everyone was trying to fight for that, like, position of, ooh, the best rally game on a system, because once upon a time, you know, it wasn't just Colin McRae, I mean, Codemasters specifically. And as I know, even after Codemasters took over, there were still other games. V-Rally was still in business, and I don't even know what the fuck's going on. Who even owns V-Rally anymore? I know V-Rally 4 was okay, right? There was also Gravel, I think. And there's also the WRC games that are still being made. In fact, I think Codemasters have they already finished it? I think it's already out. God, I don't know, I haven't kept track with that kind of stuff, but it's really cool going back to that sort of more Wild Westy time, kind of like with F1 games, where, again, before Codemasters was like, we own F1 now, everyone was just, whoever the fuck, making an F1 racing game, and there were some really cool ones coming out of that, you know? And I guess it's really fun to go back to a time like before one particular kind of game was the dominant one within its field. Kind of like with like skateboarding games before Tony Hawk. Although in this case, I think it's for the better, because like Tony Hawk just basically said, well, Neversoft specifically, this is how you make a fun skateboarding game. Like, that's how you do it. And I know there's also Thrasher and some other games that are like okay, and there's like, what was that one? This weird game with like where you play like where you use a hoverboard. I forgot what it was called, Airblade, I think, for the PS2. Wasn't that game made by Criterion? Yeah, it was made by Criterion, the frickin' Burnout guys. But anyway, so what is this game like overall? I'd say it's very, very enjoyable. I know some people find it divisive. Even like back when it came out, it was like, according to Nintendo 64 magazine, it was like, because I've been binge reading those, it was the cause of many profanities and reaching the extremes of vocabulary, and many controllers thrown at the wall. you know, it's not that difficult. Now, I am kinda cheating in a way, because I played this game quite a bit before recording this, and I unlocked a bunch of cars. I know there's actual cheats I can just use in the emulator, but no, I didn't even have to. I just played the game and I unlocked some cool cars, and you can just go back. I accidentally wiped my save data, because I'm a fucking idiot, but I can keep using my cars. Like, it wiped the season progress, but I could still keep using my new cars, so I'm basically smurfing, I guess. Like, I'm literally using this way more powerful car than it really should be for this event. Now, interestingly enough, that doesn't make it that much easier. As you can see, I'm currently actually driving kind of okay. I mean, I had a little bit of a setback, but I'm still driving about as well as I can, and yet, despite that, I'm having a hard time making it to first place. I imagine this game has some pretty serious rubber banding. I have no doubts that the AI will become faster if you're going faster. That's just how it works. But what I find really interesting about this game is the fact that despite it being structured in like a rally sort of way, it's also not, it contextualizes itself as rally, but it doesn't really play like a rally game, because typically rally is like point to point, and you don't have any opponents on the track. Well, sometimes you will, just to like sort of, usually they'll show up just as an obstacle. Like, for example, I think it was Dirt Free did that. Possibly Rally 4 as well. No, Rally 1 and maybe 2. I think Dirt 4 did that as well, where you would occasionally, they would tell you, hey, there's a guy who crashed a couple, turns from here. But that would be about it. But here you have like proper opponents. This almost feels more like something like Tank Racer or the earlier Need for Speeds, where of course they couldn't render so many opponents on screen at once, so what do? They spread them all out, right? That's why they did it. I imagine that's why it was done that way, because not only were the tracks so narrow, like Ridge Racer for example, but it was because how the fuck do you expect them to render that many guys on screen at once, when we can barely render just one car on screen? Exactly, so they would spread them out so that you would have much less of a chance of having to see them on screen at once. Look at this shit. I finished in 5th, despite having a more powerful car than what's expected, and driving about as well as I could. I mean, it wasn't a perfect performance, but still. And again, because it's N64, oh my god, the loading times are so fast. That makes me so happy, and that's also why I like to keep my, my textures and stuff pretty small in my games. Although the new game that I'm working on, which is probably done by the time you're seeing this, uses significantly higher resolution textures, because I'm going for, well, basically it's like the N64 art style, but at a high resolution. As in, I don't actually, basically, it's kind of like how this game looks right now, where I'm playing it at a very high resolution, but the textures are still kind of shitty. So what I'm doing is I'm rendering the textures at like a relatively high resolution, but they're textures that I've taken from really low res, like little pieces of a texture, and then blown back up with bilinear filtering to give it that sort of shitty N64 look. You don't want it to be crisp. And the funny thing is, that looks generally scaled to how I want it to be, but then I realized, well, it's a top-down racing game, I gotta fucking zoom the camera out. So I zoomed the camera out significantly, which makes things look even crisper than they really should. Or like, funnily enough, for example, the resolution on my cars that I've pre-rendered is roughly 128 by 300 or so. Super low res, right, for modern standards. And yet, it looks crisp as hell because on your screen, it's quite small. Because that's the thing, it's not about how big the asset is, it's about how big it has to be on the screen. So, if you know that it's going to take up like a tiny little bit of the screen, it doesn't have to be a fucking 4K texture, It doesn't make sense to do it that way. Oh my god, this bit absolutely fucks me up every time. I'm honestly surprised I did not have a problem. How could this happen to me? Here we go again. Oh, that was not the right note to hit there. Anyway, you know what I find really funny? Look at that. They just dead-ass put the freaking... What do you call it? You know what? Let's just... let's just keep playing. Even though this might eat up a significant portion of my time. Yeah, okay. Let's go to the arcade mode and just do another track. Just to showcase it, you know what I mean? Because, yes, of course, there's got to be an arcade mode. Let's go one player, because I have no friends. And, let's do the mountain. I like the mountain track a lot. I'm not going to do the coastline because that's like the first one that you always do anyway. Sunny, because we don't want any stupid weather effects. They do look quite good, actually, considering the hardware. But it's just because I'm not going to do like the track that you're most likely to just first see anyway. Oh, that's interesting. by arcade mode, they actually meant to like full on, like you're actually racing against the guy. Oh, this is different. This is very interesting. I had no idea this is how the game was set up. Because up until now, I had never played the arcade mode. I just thought, oh, okay, I get to pick a track and just race like you would. But no, it's a totally different setup. So now you only have one opponent, and you have to take them on one-on-one. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Notice how there's visual deformation on the cars. It looks really nice, actually. I mean, it doesn't look like good, if that makes sense. But, you know, I appreciate it. And I kind of like the fact there's no actual mechanical damage. Because really, Top Gear Rally 2 was weird. Because it has even more arcadey handling than this. And yet it went totally fucking overboard with how damaged your cars could become. Like, I appreciate that. But at the same time, it's just... It made the game... I imagine... I haven't played it, actually. But I can tell just by looking that, like... It really would have made the game super frustrating. Maybe I should play it at some point. I just don't see the point because it wasn't made by the same people. This was made by Boss Studio, who went on to, wow, you're slow as shit, dude, you suck. Who went on to make World Driver Championship. Then they also made, I think they made Twisted Edge. And then they finally made, what was that game? Stunt Racer 64, I think? Stunt Racer 64, which is like the dumbest fucking name. But it's actually a really good game. Like, it's really, really good looking. That's the thing about the N64. Again, it was very much a transitory system in terms of its performance because it could make some really good looking games that looked like almost very early PS2, and early PS2 was kind of like just late N64, and then it became its own thing, right? If you really think about it, this was like the last sort of era of like that old school visual look, because everything after that is like, oh hey, it's just a polished, kind of new, not really looking video game. I mean, yeah, when you look at a 360 title, you can tell, like, this is a 7th console generation game. I can tell because it looks like someone peed on the game. But even then, it's like, no, the visual fidelity is actually quite... Time up? What the fuck? Oh, okay, so that's what they meant by arcade. Well, sure, let's do one more, I guess. Let's go over to a different track. How many more tracks was there? Coastline? Yeah, there's not that many tracks in the game, but let's go to the coastline track. Why not? And let's put a condition on it that, like, we wouldn't typically... You know what? Let's do a night race. Why not? I really hope I don't forget when I'm editing this tomorrow morning to not include... I hope I don't forget to include the menu music when I go to the menus, because the music in this game, it's not quite as... world-challengingly, amazingly, just fucking, I don't know how to describe how I feel as the menu music. Like, the rest of the tracks in the game, they're your standard, like, racing music. It's pretty cool, pretty fun to listen to, but the menu music is like, holy shit. And they specifically wanted that. It wasn't just a composer going fucking nuts. They actually told him that they wanted a mellower tracks. What did that mean? That meant just the most beautiful, distorted pianos that you could ever imagine. It's so fucking good. And funnily enough, the game has a different soundtrack in Japan. I'm always going to go with the US soundtrack, or just, you know, the more popular one, because of course. But this is a really cool shortcut. Also, funnily enough, this section typically drops frames like crazy, but this time it didn't. I guess because it's nighttime? I don't know. And you know, I just realized talking over this game for so long makes the crackly audio a little bit less noticeable. I bet you didn't even notice until I pointed it out. But yeah, it's true. But surprisingly, the game itself actually runs very well. Like, it is known to have issues on a simulator, but it's running super smooth right now, honestly, even with the third-person camera, which again would typically run a little worse. But anyway, yeah, so aesthetically, it's, you know, for some reason, though, every time I look at the game's cover art, combined with the menu music, if I'm listening to the menu track specifically, and I look at the cover art, there's just... I can't describe it, really. I think it's because the car on the cover, I don't even know if it's in the game. I've been playing for quite some time, and I haven't seen it yet. Maybe I have to just play a little more and I'll unlock it, but it has like a sad face, you know, which fits with the music. What's up with games like that, where it's like, it's such an innocuous sort of just, oh, it's just a little arcade rally racing game, you know? And the composer just goes ahead and, even though he was told to do it, but still, he just goes ahead and fucking writes something that makes you want to explore the depths of time itself. I don't fucking know. It just feels so significant, you know? It has a magnitude to it. You really gotta listen to it. I mean, you'll get to hear it when I edit this, of course. I'm gonna download the soundtrack from probably... Wait, I don't know if I can say it actually from where. It's a fairly popular site. I just, I'm not going to say it just in case. Even though a lot of the more, the bigger names have been removed from there, so I guess it's not in, it's in the clear as of right now, as in it doesn't have anything else that could get in trouble. I don't know, I'm not going to say where I'm going to get it from, but, or you can just download it from YouTube or whatever, because there's tons of people who've uploaded the tracks. There's this one guy who uploaded these tracks like a while ago, except he, for some reason, I don't even know how he did it, but he separated, like, okay, so like the drums and the bass were on the right and everything else on the left. It was mixed in a very weird way, like the pan on it, but, yeah, if you can still see the birds, but there's a different upload that's a little more standard, right? I'm not sure if it's like full mono, because again, a lot of tracks on the N64 used to be mono because that's just, you can fit it better. Although later on in the system's lifespan, we started getting some better surround and, stereo sound and all that stuff. But anyway, but yeah, I love the way this game sounds musically, although the actual sound design is like okay. It's just, I mean, it's early N64, right? This feels very much like the Mario 64 of rally games. Not in the sense that it was revolutionary or anything, even though if you kind of think about it, it was a big deal because, well, there really hadn't been any proper 3D rally games up until this point. Racing games, oh, definitely, I mean, like, this was a few years after Need for Speed, many years after Test Drive and such, but this was kind of like its own thing for a little while. Then, of course, many games afterwards just kind of kept going in that direction, and that's totally cool. I really should, maybe I'll do a video on V-Rally at some point, the N64 one and the PS1 version. Maybe the Dreamcast version as well. There was a lot of different versions of it, which are, don't forget, you have to hold down to go back. God, that's fucking weird. It really messes with me, but still. But maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll check out V-Rally, V-Rally Free, and the GBA version. There's a GBA version of that game, I think. And it was, if I remember correctly, it was like weirdly good. Like, way too good for a GBA rally racer. Seriously, you should check it out. It's fucking bizarre. But it's definitely worth, like, actually taking a look at. I'm probably going to do that. But anyway, so we're almost at the end of the lap, I think. Yeah, that's actually it. We have a bit of time. Maybe we should go back to that mountain track and try one more thing, because yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'd be undercutting you guys with a shorter than normal video. So let's go ahead and open up one player again, and actually, fuck it, you owe me money, Desert. Let's go, Desert in the snow. Why? Because fuck it, it's a desert, but let's make it snow because we can. And it's really fun, though, when games let you tweak the weather like that. I'm curious, is this considered like a separate track, scene, or file in the game? Or is this dynamically being applied? No, this is N64. This must be just a totally separate stage that they're storing that just has modified textures. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if all of these textures are the exact same texture file that's just been, the brightness has been increased and the saturation has been turned all the way down. It's basically just been made white. Whoa, look at the tires on my car. That's really cute. They're all white now. That looks really cool. Because, like, they've picked up stuff. I mean, you can tell that wasn't dynamic. They literally just made them white when you're here. Also, it's way more slippery. And I like that. I'm kind of split on whether or not I genuinely prefer to have the weather affect the driving. Because on one hand, it's good. It's detail. On the other hand, it's really fucking annoying when, like, the rain comes on in a more simulator-style racing game and, like, you just know that's it. Like, even if you have the correct tires equipped, it's still just, it makes it so much harder, just objectively, to be able to control your car. So you're thinking, well, it's good that they did that. It's good that they took that into account. But do I enjoy this? Do I want my car to slip and slide like a fucking slip and slide or slidey splitey boy? I don't know. It's probably not. Look at the cacti. It has snow on top of it. In fact, they even made custom snowy textures for the tiny cactuses. That's amazing, actually. Wow. That's probably why the music sounds so... No, it's actually because... Well, to be fair, even without the emulation being a little janky, which is weird because the simulator has existed for almost as long as I have, funnily enough, it's like, it's just the music kind of just sounds like that anyway. Look, it doesn't have the highest level of fidelity. I think it's like 8-bit, but you know, like the sample, like the bit depth is 8-bit. Basically, there's a lot of quantization distortion going on, not much dithering to try and cover it up, but it still sounds cool. It gives it a vibe. It definitely gives it a certain kind of energy, a time up. Okay, well, you know what? Time up for this video as well. Did not finish? Well, you can suck my dick. Anyway, so this has been Top Gear Rally. I really like this game, actually. What does it say? 24 minutes. If it takes you 24 minutes to complete a track, you really suck at this game, don't you? Anyway, that's going to do it for Top Gear Rally. This N64 game, released in 1997, has been Focus on B, the video series, where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing a game just like this one. Had a really good time with this. See you guys next time. Top Gear Rally, 1997, N64.